When the Hong Kong was in full swing, there were lines around the block. And there were lines at Madame Wong's, too.
Both venues were very small, so it was always packed. In front of the stage at Hong Kong, there were no chairs or tables. Everybody was right up on the stage. And at Madame Wong's, the tables were there in front of the stage, and everybody would sit and have their cocktail and listen politely to the bands.
We were just a stone's throw away from Madame Wong's. We could see Madame Wong standing in her window looking at us. And she could see everything going on inside of our club, and she'd be going like this, you know, with a pair of binoculars looking into the club.
We started getting rumors that Esther Wong, Madame Wong's, was threatening her bands.
Madame Wong's had told anybody that if you play over there, you'll never play here again.
That's what started everything.
The first gig that the Textones played was at the Hong Kong Cafe. And then we were going to get booked to play Madame Wong's. But when she found out that we were booked at the Hong Kong, Madame Wong says, no, you're not playing my club. So she canceled us the night we were going to play. So we went down there with our guitars on and stood in front of her staircase and picketed her place.
When she started telling people they couldn't play her club, I figured I'm going to have to pick up on this and use it.
I know she didn't like us, but we took advantage of that.
The war started when we started doing our advertising. That's when it started, because she would have an ad in the LA Weekly. It would say Madame Wong's, the first and finest in Chinatown. And we thought that was kind of funny. So the next week we came out and we said, the biggest and the best, Hong Kong Cafe.
I changed the address of the club in our advertising. We're located in the heart of Chinatown at 425 Jinling Way. I changed that to, we're located in the heart of Chinatown, just a few doors away from what's-her-name's.
Then she started outlining her ad.
The border around her ad had names of groups that played her club.
So Madame Wong's, her ad would say, home of the Police, the Motels, 2020, John Hyatt, The No.
I copied the ad exactly, and I put different names. I used Frank Sinatra, Liberace,
Lawrence Welk, Cher, Bob Hope, Tony Bennett, Sammy Davis Jr.
We didn't advertise those people played in the club. We just put them on our ad.
Madame Wong would call the fire department because we were packed.
She used to complain. Our club was only supposed to hold 200, 250 people. And on a big night, we put in there maybe 400.
It was way overcrowded, yes. The fire department was there one night when Fear was playing. They came into the club and closed it down.
The fire people were there all the time. But they would watch the show, and they loved the show, and they loved the bands.
There was a time when she would be really quiet, and I knew how to rile her up.
We looked and saw that Dwight Twilley was going to be playing at Madame Wong's, and it was also the same day that his new record was being released. Wow, there went the light bulb. So we went to Tower Records on Sunset and bought his new cassette tape.
In those days, Madame Wong's played tapes between bands. So we take the Dwight Twilley tape and we carefully open up the cellophane, take the tape out, and you know it's tape, so you can record over that. We went to the second cut, and we covered the little hole on top of the tape, and I have a friend named Kenny. And Kenny used to do this disc jockey kind of thing.
We wrote up a little spiel, and Kenny recorded onto a cassette player, little advertisement for the Hong Kong Cafe. Susie made arrangements for a courier to deliver this tape to the sound man at Madame Wong's, and he's going, wow, Dwight Twilley, wow, this is great. I'm gonna slam this right into the cassette player and play it during the first break. So, of course, he did that.
And in breaks Kenny with this big commercial for the Hong Kong, and it's loud.
Hey, listen, kids, come on down to the Hong Kong Cafe. Don't delay. After being at What's-Your-Names, you'd want to be there anyway.
We did a whole ad for the Hong Kong Cafe with the music blaring behind.
Yeah, the Hong Kong Cafe.
And Madame Wong was just fuming. She was really upset.
She got so mad, and everybody thought it was so hip that they started writing about it, about the bands and the protesting.
We had a lot of coverage from the LA Times, from the LA Weekly. Billboard magazine ran a story. We had press you couldn't buy.
The Hong Kong became really famous really fast. And Madame Wong, she hated us.
They called it the Wonton Wars, and they played it up. They really played it up big.
Somebody from BAM magazine came up with it, and then they also called it the Chinatown Syndrome.
Of course they'd use titles like the Wonton Wars. It gets you to read it, first of all, and it makes the reader feel superior to these Asian-owned businesses in Chinatown, and also to these punkers or new wavers that aren't playing the established music. They'll just belittle it from every angle, because to them it's funny, right?
It's a very racialized term, because wonton is a food, and then you are using a kind of food to describe some business disagreements. The wars were not about these two restaurants. It was really about fans, musicians from different genres. And if you want to align with a certain type of music, you go to a certain venue.
There's a lot of people who went to Madame Wong's that wouldn't go to the Hong Kong Cafe. And serious punk people looked down their nose a little at Madame Wong's.
Both places were popular, but the audiences were different. You kind of see the difference in the way people dressed, in the way they expressed themselves.
The punks were all punked out in their outfits. They were wearing safety pins, creating their own clothes. The hair was spiked up, and then the new wave crowd. The guys would wear skinny ties. The girls, big baggy bell-bottom pants and platform shoes.
In between shows, people would be hanging out. So you'd have a clutch of the safety pins over there and a clutch of the skinny ties over there.
As more people got into it, then they all started choosing sides. There was the hardcore guys who hated the skinny tie guys, and the skinny tie guys hated the punk rocks.
We couldn't get a gig at Madame Wong's, so I decided, okay, we'll go and we'll stand in front of her office. And then she talked to us and firmly kind of said, no, you're never gonna play here. So when we got the call to do the Hong Kong, it was like, yeah, screw Madame Wong's, which was kind of the attitude.
She was a tough cookie. She knew what she wanted. If she didn't like you, that was it.
She made real business decisions, and one of those business decisions was not letting those punk bands play. Because of that, Esther Wong was characterized as a dragon lady.
It is denigrating because dragon lady is a trope. It's a persistent trope about Asia, about Asian women. And being a dragon lady is not just about being a bossy, determined woman. If you look at Esther, she can be bossy, right? But was doing that for very different purposes than what others assumed.
What she wanted to do wasn't what the Hong Kong Cafe was doing. It was actually good that she set up this rivalry between the two clubs. It added some energy, to the whole scene.
I don't know what she actually thought of the music, whether she actually liked any of it at all, but I know she certainly appreciated what it was bringing to the club.